Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Corporate Case Study number 7. I'm Charlotte Bell from NatWest, and I'm very pleased today to be joined by Devon Jennings from Banquets Bank and Alfie Lamb from Northern, who are going to talk us through their journey of implementing open banking solutions. If you do have any questions after today's session, please do come along to the NatWest stand where one of the team will be able to help. Please also note that this session is being recorded and will be available at the end of the day on the event platform and to view for the next 30 days. Please do also join the ACT's active LinkedIn pages and follow us on Twitter at ACT Update and tweet using hashtag ACTAC21. Now, if you've been coming to ACT for a number of years, you would have heard lots on open banking. But if you are new to the topic, a very, very short introduction. Open banking is a regulation that was introduced a number of years ago that mandated the big incumbent banks in the UK to open up access to our customers' data, transaction history, and our payment systems to regulated third parties to help promote innovation and competition amongst the finance industry. Since then, many of the other UK banks have also opened up access to their systems and voluntarily signed up to open banking. And we've seen a number of new innovations launch into the market, as well as new fintech entrants. At NatWest, we have launched Payit, our open banking innovation, offering a new way to collect and send payments online. Our Payit collecting payments online solution offers an alternative to businesses to collecting debit and credit card transactions online, allowing your customers to pay directly from their bank account via their mobile banking app or online banking. It provides a really fast and secure customer journey, but also some other fantastic benefits for businesses, such as reduced exposure to fraud, not having to store customers' bank details, and also often it's much cheaper than collecting debit card and credit card transactions. And this is a solution that Vanquis Bank went live with last year. We also have Payit sending payments, which on the flip side allows businesses to send payments back over to their customers directly into their bank accounts, but actually they don't need to know or store their bank details. So it's a really fast and digital journey, often used as a replacement for checks for use cases such as refunds or compensation or payouts such as insurance claims. And this is the solution that Northern went live with this year. So that's enough from me. Really keen for you to hear Devon and Alfie's journeys. So Devon, let's start with you. Please, can you tell us a little bit about Banquets Bank, your role, followed by what were your main drivers behind Banquets Bank pursuing open banking solutions?
All right, so yeah, I am the product owner for data and open banking technologies at Banquets Bank. Vanquis Bank was established in 2002 as Provident Financial's main credit card provider, and we launched loans in 2016. We specialize in offering credit to customers that would not usually be able to qualify for credit. As it relates to our open banking journey, we kind of had different drivers for open banking. We had one division of the bank that was focused on cost reduction. So the cost to process open banking payments versus credit card and debit card payments was actually, a lot less for us, not having to pay the Visa interchange fees. And then we had the other side of the business that was looking at the regulatory pieces that we needed to do around open banking. And so we had to kind of come together and get on the same strategy to how do we grow open banking and look at all of the different pain points and how we address those as one bank. And now we have an entire dedicated open banking team at the bank.
Brilliant, thanks, Devon. I think that pain point of helping reduce cost is one that I'm sure everyone who's listening today will resonate with. Alfie, over to you. So can you tell us about Northern, your role, and what were the main reasons for Northern to look at open banking solutions?
Yes, I can. Cheers, Charlotte. So at the moment, Northern operate the Northern Rail franchise in the north of England. So we span kind of from Newcastle across to Leeds, York, Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool, and as far south as Nottingham. kind of before March 20, we were operating around 2,500 services a day and about 108 million passenger journeys in the year. So we are kind of one of the biggest train operating companies in the country. In my role, I am financial controls and management information accountant. So kind of responsible for the business's cash flow and working capital management, kind of the interface between the business and the bank, and I get involved with some really cool projects like our business insight project at the moment. Kind of after March 20 and April 20, as we went into lockdown, we had a vast number of refunds to process, kind of unprecedented. And previously, somebody would just go back to their point of purchase, so be it a station, return the tickets, and they'd get it through the card. However, because we were in lockdown, we weren't able to go to the stations. We needed a solution, and at the time, we were processing a lot through checks, which is a real pain point in terms of the reconciliation with industry systems, keeping a track of it, unpresented checks. So kind of we went through the process of working out what did we want it to look like, and kind of had chats with Charlotte and the team at NatWest and kind of implemented send money, which the customer now gets to check what was the equivalent of a check, which is 6-7 days, now within a matter of hours. It's cost effective. It's 67p for a stamp, and all in all, the customer feedback's been really good with it.
Great, thank you, Alfie. And I think quicker, faster refunds or even compensation type solutions has definitely been a theme that many of our customers have been talking to us about, especially over this last year, where people really just don't want to be sending checks. Handling of paper is just, people definitely don't want. So Devon, could you give us some details on the open banking solutions that you have implemented to solve some of those pain points that you talked us through? And are there any other new use cases that you're now exploring?
Yeah, so we, in terms of reducing the cost to the bank, we've implemented Payit, which offers an alternative option to make a payment to your Vanquis credit card using open banking. Currently, right now, our customers, it's still available, but the shift is to move to open banking. But they would be paying via debit card payments. As we said, that costs us as a bank more. But for the customer, they actually are waiting 2 working days to see their available credit updated after that payment's made. With Payit and open banking technologies, we know we've made a connection to the bank. So for us, and we were able to implement an instant update to the customer's available credit by doing this. And for me as a product owner, that's the real benefit for us to do this for the customers. But then secondly, on the other side of things, where we're looking at all the regulatory pieces, we worked with a lot of credit reference agencies around open banking, all the big names, Equifax and Experian, TransUnion, to look at improving our credit decision engine using open banking and implementing that into the onboarding process. There's lots of data that needed to be shared, therefore, both ways, right, to make that possible. And we have a lot of use cases in our backlog right now that is now growing because of open banking and where we've come with that.
Great. I mean, it does really feel like Banquets Bank, you really embraced this kind of new wave of solutions that have come about with open banking. The fact that you've got a dedicated team now that is really looking at how you bring in even more products and services and improve the journey. So that's been really great to hear. Alfie, now you've entered the world of open banking with Payit. Do you see any other use cases from within your business that maybe you wouldn't have considered before?
Yes, we do. So we've recently gone under a transition back to the Department for Transport as a subsidiary, and the main focus now is having the customer at the heart and kind of improving the end-to-end passenger experience. And what we've found is, given the uptake with Payit and the send money side, we've now got opportunity to look at how people pay for their tickets. Previously, we just used Visa, MasterCard, and Amex and cash, and I think kind of using the open banking journey that we've had on the other side and the success that Banquets has had, we can see a lot of opportunity in how we'd use it on the other side of the journey, and kind of just overall improving the end-to-end experience for the passenger.
Brilliant. I think we have quite a few clients that are taking a similar approach to yourself, where you kind of picked a use case, implemented a solution to prove out the kind of benefits to your business, and now are looking at what other kind of opportunities are out there. And Devon, I guess you've done similar, but actually looked broader to start with at some of the different opportunities.
Yeah, we definitely did, kind of a POC with Experian, with Equifax, etc. as well on that side of the regulatory piece of it, and implementing it into onboarding journey. And we've now made a selection as to which partner we're moving forward with to then build the other use cases. So yeah.
Brilliant. So Alfie, it would be good if you could give us an insight into the journey that you had to go through from kind of identifying that pain point right through to implementation.
So kind of it was myself and yourself, Charlotte. We had these initial chats, and kind of one of the things that was key to making this successful was we had to make sure we had the buy-in. So after we'd had our chats, there was chats then for me to have with our internal team, so customer experience, marketing, procurement, and kind of making sure that the platform was right and kind of it solved the problem that we had, which ultimately was checks and then the reconciliation part. So once we kind of found that this was the optimal solution, this is what we wanted to go with, we had to write an internal business case. So that was done by myself, and then kind of had to be signed off by a couple of our board directors, and then we kind of went on through with implementation. The business case kind of detailed cost benefit analysis, kind of detailing the speed of it. So again, from going from 7 days on average for a check to a matter of hours with Payit, and then kind of the reconciliation benefit as well. So again, paper is a nightmare, and kind of this is all done digitally at the moment, which was kind of really, and once everybody bought into it by the business and kind of everybody was really on board with it, the seamless transition through kind of signing the documents for yourself to then going through the implementation stage was just seamless. And given that we already banked with NatWest, it was just a real breeze, and a kind of, you did a lot of the work for us as well on that, so it was really easy. And kind of all in all, our process was about 6 weeks, right from having those initial chats to being ready to go live with it.
Which is very, very fast. I don't know, Alfie, if you could give a little insight into some of those reconciliation challenges that you were having before with your checks, and kind of what you were able to do now you've got kind of Payit live.
Yeah, so we use an industry system, so all train operators use the same system, generating references. And we were finding that actually when we were using almost unintegrated platforms, references were going in wrong, and sometimes it was human error, sometimes it was communication issues. But what we found is we used Microsoft's Power Automate platform with the Forms suite, and we were able to set up some dedicated input forms. So they would be provided with a refund reference from the system, they'd pop that into the form. That would then generate a bulk upload file, which was compatible with Payit, and we could upload that straight in. And kind of what was initially copy and pasting from spreadsheets and was just a complete nightmare to reconcile for me and my team, has now become almost a self-reconciling process. And that's almost just with the innovation of open banking combined with giving us a new opportunity of doing something different, we kind of tagged the two together, and it's been really successful so far.
Brilliant, thanks, Alfie. And Devon, over to you. Obviously, you've implemented or looked at a number of different solutions. I'm sure timing-wise, it probably taken a bit longer than just the 6 weeks that it took Alfie. But could you give us a bit of an insight into the journey that you've taken from kind of that identifying those pain points through to kind of where you are today?
Yeah, it's very, very similar to Alfie's in some respects. You know, the pain points were identified, as I said, you know, opportunity to reduce costs, and then, oh, we have to do this for sure because it's a regulatory piece of work. Business cases were written up by both different sides of the business, you know, finance from one perspective, and then we kind of have our operation side of things as well. And from another perspective, different sponsors were assigned to that. There was a lot of impact assessment that we did across almost every single department at the bank, you know, operations and marketing, finance, treasury, all across IT, and effectively what we ended up doing is we then had to get some of our key stakeholders to sign off on that as well. For the onboarding part of things and the regulatory part of things, we went out to tender, and also for the Payit side of things, which ended up in a partnership with NatWest. and we selected our vendors and we moved from there. With Payit, working really closely with you guys, it only took us 6 months. I know at the time, I think some of our stakeholders thought this is taking too long. But now on reflection, considering the impact that we now have with our customers and looking out at the industry and what we've actually done, we're all very pleased with the fact that it was actually only 6 months to do this. And now we can go to the industry and kind of give a little bit of a guidance to the financial industry as to how to do that effectively.
Yeah, and you say, 6 months feels like a long time, but when you think about the journey you went on, which was really taking your entire business through this kind of transformation that's going to be needed and getting everyone on the same track, that we really need to bring in these new solutions that can really transform some of those customer journeys, it's pretty impressive. I guess, were there any particular challenges that you faced during that process you could share?
So particular challenges that we had, I think one is the education piece. So helping people to understand what it is, why we're doing it, how it will integrate into our products as well. And then, where do we then go from there? I think that's really important, the where do we then go? Because, a lot of businesses will think about, okay, what's our immediate gain here? But we need to make sure that we have a long-term strategy as to how to build that. So the education piece was probably one of the most difficult parts. But then also we didn't really have some individuals who really knew open banking inside and out, if that makes sense. And so we really had to depend, in the beginning at least, on NatWest and where you guys were in the journey to help us kind of bridge that knowledge gap, right? And give our security teams the confidence as well, because obviously security is all on top of something like this processing customer information and payments in, and also a data protection teams were involved in the whole thing, the wording on the screens, etc. So yeah.
No, I think that's definitely true. I mean, we've been on the journey since about 2018. We've been piloting Payit, so we've had a number of years where, like you, we've been taking our entire business on this journey, all the security teams, data teams, fraud teams, to make sure everyone is comfortable with us launching services like this. So definitely can resonate with that one there. Alfie, has Payit delivered any unexpected benefits, and what do your customers think?
I suppose the big benefit was the speed. I think one of the things that our info security team really loved was the fact that we weren't having to hold bank details. So previously we would have to take card details over the phone, and the PCI compliance with that. So kind of we don't see the bank details, they input it onto yourself, and it kind of goes through the open banking journey. And that was kind of, whilst kind of from a finance perspective we understood that, I don't think the wider teams did, and kind of when that came in, it was like, oh, okay, brilliant. One of the other things we found is obviously the opportunity it provided us through the reconciliation process. So kind of how we've started to integrate it and kind of get on board with kind of not just using Payit, but improving our whole processes from end to end. And then kind of the additional fraud checks that it uses as well have kind of helped us spot a few things where we've had some issues, and that's been really useful. In terms of what our customers think, so we survey them after every successful claim, and we've kind of got a little, I think it's 5 questions at the moment for Payit, and they've kind of, so far we've got 97% of respondents have said that they found the journey easy, and kind of the word that keeps reoccurring is straightforward, simple, straightforward, fast. So it's actually, our customers have really loved it. Obviously we ideally don't want to be sending them compensation, because we kind of just want them to have had a seamless journey. But when it happens, I think kind of this is really swapping a bad experience into actually it was a one-off, and they dealt with it really good. So we've found it's been really successful, and kind of we benchmark against Net Promoter Score, and the Net Promoter Score we're finding associated with Payit is actually really high at the moment. But I think it's about 82, I think, on the top of my head, with promoters. So it's going really well. And I think kind of it goes back to this customers at the heart drive that we're having as a business, and packaging up with a lot of other improvements we're doing at the moment.
And I mean, that also shows that your customers, you know, the fact that they've been so open to change has also been great. But I know that's not just by luck, and that you and your teams have had to do an awful lot around education, just like Devon was talking about, to make sure that both internal teams and customers are comfortable with this type of solution.
Yeah, and we've kind of got some frequently asked questions set up on our website. So we've got a help center on our website with some frequently asked questions, detailing the journey and kind of a lot of the fear, because you know we for years we've kind of said if you get link and you don't want to share your details, and actually we're trying to get people to think the other way, and people have been really on board with it. And people have been quite embracing of it, and that goes back to the question you asked earlier around would we implement other open banking solutions. Previously, even myself, I'd have maybe said, I'm not too sure, but now seeing the success of it and seeing the confidence that's associated with it, actually, yeah, I think there's some real room for improvement, and it's kind of just getting as many people used to it. So with our customer service agents that answer the phone, for example, they're all now up to scratch with how the process works, so they can confidently talk the passenger through the journey, making it easy for them, and then they kind of go and tell their friends in the pub or the cafe, and kind of everyone just becomes on board with it, and it as kind of a more for maybe yourselves benefits in the financial services, finding that the more people that get on board, the more people that more then get on board, if that makes sense, and everyone then just becomes comfortable with it.
Definitely. So Devon, to you as well then, you know, has open banking delivered any unexpected benefits, and what have your customers been saying?
Yeah, so the key benefit that was unexpected for us, obviously, as I said, when we started, it was about cost savings from that perspective. But the key benefit that we discovered is that because we are making these instant connections with the banks, and we know the customer, well, via the APIs, that we know that the customer has available funds, the payment isn't going to fail. It's either is or isn't. We now we're able to apply an instant update to our customers' available credit. And I just think, you know, if you look at an industry, that's still, you know, almost non-existent, right? So for us, that was definitely unexpected. When we noticed an opportunity there, we said, let's take it, because for years as a bank, that was something we wanted to do. But the way you know, how debit card payments are processed right now, if you were to try and pull that apart and do the instant updates, you would accept some risk in doing that. And the risks are now a lot less with open banking. So we implemented that. But also we got less calls into the call center with open banking, which again, you know, we weren't really sure in the beginning how that would pan out. But before open banking, we would have customers making a payment very close to their kind of due date. And some of them would not realize that, yes, you would need to wait, you know, 2 days for that to update. And for whatever reason, they expected, of course, that it would be instant, even though there's a message there that say it's not. And then they call us in, and we'd have to process the refunds. And obviously, that's taking up time from the agents on the phone to serve customers that, you know, they have something they really need us to do, if that makes sense. So now we don't really get as many calls coming in anymore for that, and that's overall helping the customer experience. The feedback that we have from customers, generally, you know, once they've used open banking once to make their payment successfully, they stick around, and they're there, you know, every month making multiple payments now, versus before they would just make one. Now they can just go in and they make small amounts, and they're keeping on top of their finances better because of it. But on the other side, we still have a bit that we're trying to catch up on, really, which is to speak to what Alfie said, to get some of the other customers to trust open banking more, right? I think that there's some of them that are still on that journey, and we're helping them, working with the marketing team. We now are sending out little leaflets in the letters. So once you onboard with Vanquis Bank, we introduce open banking immediately. And we tell you exactly how it's going to work and why you should be using open banking. So that trust is built, and they see the logos, you know, everything's natural for them.
Brilliant, thanks, Devon. Let's stay with you, Devon. Probably used to be our last question. What are the top pieces of advice that you would give to anyone who is about to embark on a similar journey?
my number one piece of advice is make sure that your marketing team is engaged from the beginning and that they have a really deep understanding of what it is you're doing, what open banking is, and where are we going with open banking. I feel like they need to understand, marketing need to understand the product as well as your product owner does, right? Because that's where marketing can be the most effective. And then of course, I think it would help in that you wouldn't need to do as much catching up, right? Because you're more doing that upfront and along the journey as it's being built and integrated. Also, it's new technology relatively still for a lot of businesses. So make sure that your tech teams spend the time to understand the work required and also to understand the regulations. So there's lots of documentation online around that, and that's really, really key. So that would be my two pieces of advice. Make sure marketing is involved, make sure, early enough, and make sure your technology team spend the time to really understand what they need to do from a regulatory perspective so they know, hey, these are the other opportunities we can take outside of the regulatory requirements.
I think that's really, I guess, something that we see quite a lot of. We try to encourage with our customers is trying to bring in all those other teams on board as early in that process as possible. And yeah, it's obviously two great pieces of advice there. And so, Alfie, over to you. What advice would you give?
I was just going to say, just get stuck in. So I think one of the things that made it so easy for us was once we'd got the buy-in from the business and once the business understood it. Now, I think it was obviously slightly different for Devon's team and a lot more technical, but for us, once we understood what the process would look like from a customer perspective, we got a really big on board and a lot of people to buy in. I feel like had we not had that conversation, people would have been quite uncomfortable with it. So kind of even just the demonstrations that we had, the wireframes that I think yourself provided, Charlotte, we kind of took them through, just kind of my team, and just kind of said, what would you think? And kind of getting that buy-in and then going to InfoSec, going to our customer experience team, going to marketing and getting everybody involved throughout and keeping them in the loop. We think kind of made the whole end-to-end process really good. So we kind of, on the back of that, the frequently asked questions that we've put out, the guides that we've put out on social media, the stuff that we've kind of got our agents saying over the phone, has kind of got the continual, people have felt invested in it, I think is kind of the best way to write that. And people have felt like as a business, we've done this together and we've done a really good job. And like I say, kind of putting customers at the heart, we have really improved the process, and that was right through just getting everybody's buy-in at the earliest opportunity.
I think that's something that probably is common across both of your organisations. It's bringing everyone on board the journey. I do think there's been some slight differences, which is definitely interesting. So Devon doing that, all of that buy-in and onboarding right up front, before you've even started to look at any of your solutions and things like that. And Alfie, you kind of gone in with the approach of let's pick a use case, let's implement and get stuck in with one solution. And once we've kind of got everyone's buy-in on all of the benefits, now a great opportunity to look at other solutions that are out there. But I think that there is no right or wrong approach. These are both brilliant strategies, and all of you on the line, if you're exploring or thinking of exploring these types of open banking solutions, then it's definitely around just picking the right approach for your business. So I do think that's probably all we're going to have time for today. Massive thanks to Devon and Alfie. It's been a pleasure hearing from you both. Great to kind of get some of the detail around your journeys, and thank you for all of that advice. If there is anyone on the line who would like to ask any questions, please do come along to that NatWest virtual stand where myself and a number of colleagues will be available to help answer any questions that you have. That's all. Thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.